Beloved, welcome back to the shop and happy Labor Day. Today we're going to be rehabbing all of the fire tools. Speaking of fire, so a quick update on the fire. We have a fire, a wildland fire that's about 13,000 acres 2 miles to the north. It is 31% contained. The weather came in and really knocked it down and really kind of took a lot of the fear away, but now it's starting to flare up again, and I haven't really heard the latest, but I do know that there's a lot of aircraft flying around, so they might be a little bit concerned, so we'll keep an eye on that today. But this is kind of an annual video that I do. It's all of the stuff, your chainsaws, your fire tools, shovels, fire rakes, all that stuff really takes a beating throughout the year. And today we're gonna be rehabbing all of that. So I'll show you how to sharpen your tools, how to take care of and treat your leather and your wood handles, and we'll just do it all together. Billie Jean is at my door today, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So let me show you what we got in front of us and then we'll get started. We'll start with the fire rakes, and I'll show you exactly why you use boiled linseed oil. I've got one here that was taken care of, my personal one by Proho, and one that is used by, well, everyone that has not been taken care of. These are both from the same age. We got them at the same time. Do you see this? Do you see these cracks in the wood? That happens when you leave it out in the sun and you don't put boiled linseed oil. And the problem with that is it's very nasty on the hand. It's very sharp. It gives you terrible blisters. When you contrast that with mine, look at that rich, deep patina, no cracks, very smooth on the hand. I'm not casting any shade on anyone. You know, it just kind of happens when you have general tools that multiple people are using. It's a difference between owning and renting. But I'll show, let's start by rehabbing this one and we can get it back into fighting shape. This is a carpenter's vise. It's a little bit different than a mechanic's or a machinist's vise, and it's perfect for working on your tools. It's got a wood jaws on it so it doesn't mar the handles, and it is definitely my choice. So we'll start by clamping this up. If you don't have a wood vise, then you can just clamp it to a table, just something to secure it, because we're going to want to get some heavy sandpaper on here. When a handle is really beat up like that, I like to start with some 60 grit. 60 grit, and then we'll finish up with either 220 or some Scotch Brite. Now when you buy sandpaper, it usually comes in these sheets here, and you can make it go a lot further if you quarter it. It looks like I already stole a little piece off here. Quarter it, and it's a lot more manageable, and it just lasts a lot longer. I see guys that will sand with full sheets, and you just don't need to do that. Trauma shears, of course, one of the handiest tools you can have in the shop. Trauma shears will cut anything, even a penny. These are designed for paramedics and doctors when you have to cut clothes off. Trauma, as we used to say, is a naked sport. And of course, these tools are made by our friends over at Rogue. They make the finest hand tools I think in the world. They use old recycled plow discs. That's what gives them that unique characteristic, really high quality steel. So take that 60 grit and just start knocking off the high points. You don't need to go too crazy with it. Wood is incredibly resilient, and if you put boiled linseed oil back on it, it does tend to repair itself. Do you see what the polish marks are? Those are all high marks, those are all ridges, and that's what gives you blisters. And so I'll work that down until we kind of have a uniform, you know, that light color there, and that tells us that we're getting flat. Your sandpaper will load up, so don't kill yourself by trying to make it last too long. Just figure you're going to use a sheet per handle, and it's just a whole lot less work if you keep fresh sandpaper and you don't have to work so hard and waste all that elbow grease. You can see how that sandpaper loads up. A lot of that's got to do with, in a last ditch effort, I threw a little boiled linseed oil on it when we were setting out our fire tools, and I should have sanded it first. So it's loading up a little bit, whoops, because of that. Here you can see those wooden jaws. That's really nice on these wooden handles because it's such so much surface area, and you've got oak there, and it won't mar it. All right, that's looking a whole lot better. All right, next we're gonna go with some Scotch Brite. Scotch Brite is one of the miracles of modern science. It's a whole lot cheaper if you buy it by the case. I like this purple color or the green. The green's even a little bit finer, but the red is pretty nice. And this will last you, goodness, a lifetime. If you just cut it up into small blocks like this, you can see already how much brighter that wood is. And just to fill it and hold it, it is already much smoother. Take your Scotch-Brite, and now if you do take care of your handles and they haven't been left outside and they don't have those deep cracks in them, you can skip that sandpaper and just go straight to the Scotch-Brite. The Scotch-Brite is going to kind of clean off the hand oils and any residue you get on it and help prep the surface to receive that boiled linseed oil better, and it will penetrate better. It is just the perfect product for that. You can kind of see the shape here. You can see where this was cut out of a plow disc. The original sticker never got taken off. I don't like the stickers on there, it just makes a mess. So we'll scrape that off. I'll give you a close-up of these tines. You can see that the metal's all rolled over, pretty blunt. This tool like this is really good, is a good chopper. It's good for breaking or cutting through roots and difficult things. You can rake and cut with it. It's probably, of all the Rogue tools, it's among my favorite. But we're going to want to put an edge back there. If you have a nice clean edge on these, and that goes the same for your shovels, you do a whole lot less work. If you haven't ever dug with a sharp tool or a sharp forest rake, you'll be amazed of how much lighter your load is. To sharpen these hand tools, the U.S. Forest Service recommends a 12-inch mill bastard file, and you want to make sure you have a file card. A file card, so what happens when you start filing these is that the tool, actually, if you hear that vibration, when you get a lot of vibration like that, it eats up your file. Chalk it up tighter and get some of that, I guess, that vibration out of it. Still a lot of shake in that. Actually, I'm going to chalk the head up. I don't like all that vibration. That feels better. We're just going to re-profile this and put a nice edge on there. We'll just keep filing until we get all of the chips out of it, or all of the, I guess, little I guess chip. Yeah, I guess that's the right word. Now, when you file, make sure you use both sides. You'll feel it just not cut as well. That's because the file will get full of those filings. Then I'll flip it over, and I've got a fresh cut. And when this side loads up, have your file card on handy. This is a file card, and you go with the teeth. And I'll just clean that out of there. If you use a file card, your file will last a long time, and it works much, much better. And remember, beloved, a file cuts on the push. Don't pull a file. Don't go back and forth like that. You see a guy doing that, you know he doesn't know what he's doing. It cuts on the push. So sometimes an experienced filer, you can push and you'll see them drag it back, but they're also relieving the pressure. So if you get in a spot where, you know, it's not wrong all the time, but you want to, if you do come back and you're dragging it, just have a light pressure. Don't be sawing it back and forth. It cuts only on the push. Look at the shavings. Do you see that? That's what a good file will do. A good file will machine a lot of material off in a short amount of time. You know, with a file, you don't have to worry about overheating or going too far like you do with power tools. I know power tools are always kind of the go-to and they're fast and handy, but a good file with good technique is more effective, and I think you get a better result. Silly me, I thought we'd actually get to all these tools in one video today, but I can see the whole video is going to be, well, just doing one rake. It's always tricky trying to figure out a way to secure a tool like this. It's round shaped when you're doing the inside. I don't know if I ever do it the same twice, but I'll put my jet clamp on here. Jet clamp is the catch-all for, if you didn't have a vise, if you got one of these, just one of these, that's about the handiest thing. It's almost as handy as having a helper in the shop. Doing fall maintenance on my hand tools makes me really miss my granddad. He took care of his tools. You know, he lived through the Depression, so he really looked after things. He didn't have a lot of money. He was a very modest man, but he bought quality, and he lived to go elk hunting. And so before we would go elk hunting, and usually October 31st was opening day, I'd go over there and we would sharpen axes and shovels and start laying everything out. He'd start preparing them a month in advance. He took almost all of his vacation to go hunting. 2 weeks for deer, or 2 weeks for elk, and 1 week for deer. Do you see how we're knocking that off of there? That you can sharpen all you want on the backside, but if you don't take care of these lips here, and it's all for, it doesn't really do much. My goodness, it is getting warm today. It's been up in the 90s. We had our first frost, what was it, 5 days ago? Or I guess right before the weekend, Thursday or Friday, got down to below freezing. Mrs. W had a lot of the stuff in her garden freeze up, so she's been out there trying to protect that and make that last as long as possible. I cannot tell you what a handy tool this jet clamp has been. Back at the old place, one of my subscribers sent this to me, and I didn't really understand. He knew. He knew what a help it would be. I didn't understand, why he would just send me one clamp until I started using it, and then now I understand. I'll put a link in the description, but if you don't have a vise, this right here will get you through 90% of the things you need a vise for. All right, that looks a whole lot better, gentlemen. Our next step is we're gonna personally put our personal mark on our tools. Now, this is something I actually originally learned from my grandfather. All of the guys in our hunting camp, we had big hunting groups that would go, and guys would show up with their own shovels and axes, and it was easy to get things mixed up because everyone's working corporately. So it's pretty customary for guys to have some sort of a mark where you could look at your tool and see that it was your own. And I've just adopted the 12-inch black end. So on a fire, or if friends come over or we commingle tools, you can quickly see what you have. And this is very common. This is a common thing done, I found out later, with the Forest Service as well. You have guys from regions all over the country that show up. The tools are all standardized, so they're all the same, and you can't tell one from another. So you'll see one hot shot crew that'll have some sort of a unique marking on it. They're all different. Some guys go crazy in multiple colors or just one color, but something that you can look at your tool and see if someone has taken it. So we're going to do that now because this one never got marked. Now, I tend to like to do this before I put the boiled linseed oil on. The paint just doesn't set. I don't know why I tore off so much paper there. 8 or 9 inches or so. You do your own. Do your own whatever you like. Paint this over by the door so we don't stink up our shop. Well, that's drying. We'll grab our boiled linseed oil. Now, back in the day, linseed oil, they would actually boil it in a big vat. And when you boil it, it makes it dry faster. Now, there's 2 types of linseed oil. There's just regular linseed oil, which you will see used on, well, you can put it on tools, but it takes days to dry. So you'll see linseed oil put on as a wood preservative. But for hand tools, boiling it is better because it dries immediately. It means you can start using it and it doesn't have that stickiness. Modern day linseed oil that you get at big box stores is going to have a chemical drying agent in it. I don't know that there's anything wrong with that. I'm a little bit skeptical of having it on my hands, but you can still find regular boiled linseed oil. It's more expensive, but I prefer it. I don't know, maybe just kind of the tradition. And the rule for boiled linseed oil, I think it bears mentioning again, is when you have a raw tool, when you buy a tool, whether it be a big box store or you buy a good rogue tool, most of the time they're going to have varnish on them. And that is the absolute worst thing you can have on a wooden handle because it causes blisters, and then when you get UV on it, it starts to flake off. And it's just miserable stuff. The reason why they put that on there is because they want it to look nice at the store. You have people handling it in the shipping, and people who don't know might think it's unsightly to see a raw wood handle that's got smudges on it, even though it would be a lot better that way. So remove that varnish. The best way is to scrape it off with a heavy knife. And once you get it scraped off, then you're going to apply your boiled linseed oil. And the rule of thumb is this. on a raw wood handle. You do it every day for a week, every week for a month, and then every month for, what? I'm confused. You do it every day for a week, every month for a year, and then after that, basically you just do it annually. So once you treated your tools, just in the fall, just have your custom that you're gonna go through this method and you're gonna reapply it once a year. All right, doesn't take long to dry in this heat. So my favorite way to put it on, just get yourself a glove. I'll take my buddy thing off there and just put it on with your hand. The warmth of your hand helps it to set inside the wood, and you don't need very much. You don't want to leave it on there either. Some guys will just cake it on there and it's just be dripping all over the place. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't go into the wood, and it just ends up, you just end up having to scrape it off. So usually just put a little on your hand and work it in. And this stuff that is boiled, it does seem, I don't mind getting it on my hand near as much. I don't know what's in that chemical drying agent. But that's it right there. I'll just rub that on there real good, make sure it's worked in, and then once I know it's worked into all the cracks and everything, then I'll take a cloth and then wipe off the excess. Look at how much better that looks. You know, with this one here, I might even actually let this sit, because it's been so forsaken, I might leave it in the shop here and then do this every day for a week or so to really let that sit in. But remember how all those cracks and how rough that handle was? Now I can slide even my ungloved hand across there and it feels smooth, and there's nothing catching and nothing uncomfortable, or nothing's going to cause a blister. And that is it, gentlemen. That's how the U.S. Forest Service takes care of their hand tools. And it's a whole new tool ready for work, and a whole lot better than it was an hour ago. Thank you for watching. If you don't mind, take a moment and click that thumbs up. I appreciate your patience for my low effort content while I'm convalescing. A little update on that. The recovery's been harder than I was expecting. There have been some complications, and it's been a rough road. I might have to reevaluate my hobbies in the future, but hopefully this finger's not healing properly. I'm gonna have to go in and hopefully don't have to have another surgery, but it's kind of looking like that way. So open fractures I'm learning are quite a dangerous thing in difficult recovery. Hand injuries are really bad. I always thought a broken finger was not a big deal, but it can spiral out of shape and cause you lots of problems. So please do keep me in your prayers. I would appreciate that. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you all on the next video.